Once upon a time, in a large and bustling city, there lived a billionaire named Eric. He had everything a man could dream of: fancy cars, a mansion, and more money than he could ever spend. But despite all his wealth, Eric felt lonely. He knew people only saw his money and power, not his heart. Eric had been in many relationships, but none of the women truly loved him. They were all drawn to his wealth, not to the man he was inside. The more this happened, the emptier Eric felt. He wanted someone who would love him for who he really was, not because he could buy them expensive things. One day, Eric came up with an idea. He would leave behind his luxurious life and go undercover. He decided to pretend to be a crippled beggar. He thought that if he could meet someone who would care for him while he appeared poor and helpless, that person might truly love him. Eric told his parents about his plan, and they were very worried. His mother, a well-known businesswoman, and his father, a powerful politician, tried to talk him out of it. "Eric, you could be recognized. What if someone dangerous finds out who you are? You could be kidnapped or harmed," his father said, his voice filled with concern. "I'll be careful. I'm going far away to a place where no one knows me," Eric reassured them. He was determined to find real love, no matter the risks. His mind was made up. He left his mansion behind and traveled to a small village far from the city. There, he dressed in old, torn clothes and sat in a wheelchair. He rolled himself to a quiet street corner, hoping no one would recognize him. With his hand outstretched, he began to beg. "Please help me," he whispered, hoping someone would stop. He felt nervous and vulnerable. It was the first time in his life he had ever asked for anything from strangers. For days, Eric sat on the street, watching people pass by. Most didn't even look at him. Some gave him a quick glance before hurrying away. He had never felt so invisible. But then, one day, a girl named Destiny came by. Destiny was different. She was young, probably in her early 20s, with kind eyes and a gentle spirit. She didn't have much herself. Her family was poor, and her father, Roland, worked hard on their small farm to make ends meet. But despite her struggles, Destiny always found a way to smile. As Destiny walked past, she noticed Eric sitting in his wheelchair, looking tired and hungry. Her heart softened. She stopped and bent down, looking into his eyes. "Are you okay?" she asked, her voice full of concern. Eric was taken by surprise. It had been days since anyone had spoken to him. "I'm just trying to get by," he said, trying to sound weak. Destiny looked into her small purse. She didn't have much money, but she couldn't walk away without helping him. "Here," she said, handing him a few coins. "I know it's not much, but it's all I have right now." Eric felt a lump in his throat. Her kindness touched him in a way that money never had. "Thank you," he whispered. "You don't know how much this means to me." Destiny smiled softly. "Do you have a place to stay?" she asked. Eric shook his head. "No," he said, feeling a little guilty for lying. Destiny thought for a moment. "I live with my father. Our house is small. I would have loved to help you, but I don't know if my father will agree to it." Destiny hurried home, her heart still heavy with concern for the beggar. As she walked into the small house, she found her father, Roland, resting after a long day's work. His face, though worn from years of labor, still carried the warmth and kindness she loved so much. "Father, I met someone in the village today," Destiny began hesitantly. A man, a beggar, sitting on the street in a wheelchair. He looked so tired and hungry. Roland's eyes softened as he listened. "What did you do, Destiny?" "I gave him what little money I had left, but he told me he has no place to stay," Destiny explained. "I wanted to help him, but I didn't know if it was the right thing to do. Should I have done more?" Roland sighed deeply. "You can't leave him out there alone in the night," he finally said. "No one should be left to suffer when we have a roof over our heads. Go back and bring him here. We'll make room for him." Destiny smiled, grateful for her father's compassion. Without wasting any time, she grabbed her shawl and hurried back to the spot where she had left the man. When she returned, Eric was still sitting in his wheelchair, looking lost in thought. She approached him carefully, her soft voice cutting through the evening air. "My father said you can't stay out here alone tonight," she said gently. "Come with me. We'll give you a place to sleep." Eric blinked, surprised by the offer. His heart swelled with emotion. I don't know what to say, he stammered. You don't have to say anything, Destiny replied with a kind smile. Just let us help you. With Destiny's assistance, Eric made his way back to her small, humble home. As he crossed the threshold, he felt a sense of warmth and safety he hadn't felt in a long time. Destiny and her father had so little, yet they were willing to share what they had with a stranger. As Eric settled into the modest room they had prepared for him, he realized that maybe, just maybe, he had finally found what he was looking for. But with his heart full of gratitude, he also felt a growing sense of guilt. He was living a lie. Eric spent his first night in Destiny and Roland's home feeling a mix of relief and anxiety. The room was small, but it was clean and welcoming. As he lay on the thin mattress, he listened to the sounds of the night, the chirping of crickets and the gentle rustling of leaves. For the first time in a long while, he felt safe. Destiny brought him a bowl of warm soup, and Eric savored each sip. She sat on the edge of the bed, her eyes filled with kindness. You can stay as long as you need, she said. We want to help you. Thank you, Eric replied, his voice barely a whisper. You don't know how much this means to me. Over the next few days, Destiny and Roland took care of Eric. They helped him with his daily needs and even made a small garden for him to sit in. Eric enjoyed spending time with Destiny. She was funny and smart, and he found himself laughing more than he had in years. One evening, as they sat together in the garden, Destiny looked at him with concern. You seem sad sometimes, she said. Is there something on your mind? Eric wanted to share everything with her but held back. I'm grateful to be here, he replied, forcing a smile. I've been through a lot. Destiny nodded, but Eric could see she wanted to know more. He felt a pang of guilt. How could he enjoy this happiness while hiding who he really was? Meanwhile, back in the city, Eric's parents were growing increasingly worried. They hadn't heard from him since he left, and it was unlike him to go without his phone. Every night, his mother sat by the window, praying for his safety. Her heart ached with worry. Where could he be? She wondered aloud, her voice thick with emotion. This is our only son. He should have told us where he was going. Eric's father tried to stay calm for his wife's sake, but he couldn't hide his concern. I'm sure he's fine, he said, though he felt a knot in his stomach. He's probably just taking a break from everything. You know how he is. But each passing day without news made them more anxious. Eric's mother would cry, praying that he was safe wherever he was. One cool evening, Roland sat beside Eric in the small garden. He had been meaning to ask how Eric ended up in a wheelchair. Eric paused, his heart racing, and shared a fabricated story. He said he had been in an accident a few months ago. His car skidded off the road, and while he was lucky to survive, his legs were badly injured. Eric explained that the doctors told him he could walk again, but he needed a surgery that was far too expensive. Roland felt deep sympathy. It was a terrible thing for a young man to suffer through. He could see the pain Eric tried to mask and decided in his heart that he had to do something. The next morning, Roland pulled Destiny aside over breakfast. He told her about Eric's condition and his need for surgery. They didn't have enough money, but Roland suggested they start small by selling some of their farm's produce. Fruits, vegetables, maybe even some livestock. It wouldn't raise all the money at once, but it was a start. Destiny admired her father's generosity. They didn't have much, but Roland always believed in helping others. They decided to keep it a secret from Eric, fearing he might refuse their help. Destiny began working harder on the farm, picking produce to sell at the village market. One day, Judah, a wealthy young man from the city, approached her. Judah had been trying to get her attention for months, offering her gifts and promising a luxurious life if she would marry him. He made his usual proposal, but Destiny calmly declined. She didn't want the life Judah was offering. Her life, though humble, gave her peace. Frustrated, Judah couldn't understand why she would choose to remain in the village. You're a fool for wanting to live in poverty in this dirty village, he shouted before storming away in anger. Destiny continued selling at the market, her heart heavy but her mind clear. She had no regrets. Back at home, Roland and Destiny kept up their efforts. Every coin they earned went into a secret fund for Eric's surgery, but it seemed they could never save enough. Sophia, Destiny's best friend, came by one afternoon with a hidden agenda. Judah had given her money to help convince Destiny to marry him. Sophia, feeling important and thinking Judah was a good match, agreed to help. Sitting with Destiny, Sophia brought up Judah, emphasizing the wealth and comfort that awaited her. Destiny simply shook her head. She had no interest in Judah. She then revealed something unexpected. She was starting to fall in love with Eric. Sophia froze, shocked. Destiny, in love with that poor, crippled, ugly man? Her shock quickly turned to anger. She couldn't believe her friend was choosing poverty and mocked Eric's appearance, insisting Destiny was making a huge mistake. Destiny remained calm. "Stop coming to my house if all you want to talk about is Judah," she said firmly. "Our friendship means a lot to me, but I'm ready to end it if you keep pushing this." Filled with anger, Sophia stormed out and went straight to Judah, telling him everything, including that Destiny was falling for Eric. Judah was livid. How could she choose a beggar over him? But as Judah fumed, Sophia's own emotions shifted. She too was angry at Judah. She had always been by his side, yet he never looked her way. "Why are you so obsessed with Destiny?" Sophia confronted him. "I'm beautiful, my family is rich, and I have class. Why waste your time chasing her when I'm right here?" But Judah's heart was set on Destiny. "Destiny is everything you're not," he retorted. "She's humble, well-mannered, and grounded." Hearing Judah praise Destiny, Sophia's jealousy grew into hatred. From that moment on, she carried a deep resentment for the girl who seemed to have all the love and admiration she craved. As the days passed, Destiny and Roland worked tirelessly, but the money they raised was nowhere near enough for the surgery. Roland couldn't let it go. He had grown to care for Eric and couldn't watch his hopes slip away. One evening, Roland made a decision. He owned 2 pieces of land, his family's only valuable assets, passed down from his ancestors. That night, he decided to sell one of them to raise the money for Eric's surgery. The following day, Roland quietly sold the land. His heart ached, but it was a sacrifice he was willing to make. He returned home with the money and found Eric in the living room. With a smile, Roland announced that the money for his surgery was ready. He had sold his land to make it possible. Eric's face went pale. He couldn't believe this poor man had sold his family's legacy for his sake. Guilt hit Eric like a wave. He couldn't stay silent any longer. Swallowing hard, his voice shaking, he confessed everything. He told Roland the truth, that he wasn't a beggar but a wealthy billionaire who had come to the village in disguise to find true love. Roland stood frozen, listening in disbelief. The air grew heavy with the weight of Eric's confession. After a long silence, Roland's face hardened. Without a word, he stormed out of the house, unable to process the betrayal. He sank to his knees in the yard, his heart broken as tears filled his eyes. Destiny saw her father rush out and hurried inside to find Eric, his face filled with guilt. She demanded to know what had happened. Consumed by shame, Eric confessed to her as well. Destiny stood there, speechless at first. Then, anger surged through her. All this time, they had been sacrificing what little they had because they believed he was in desperate need. "How could you lie to us?" she cried, her voice filled with hurt and rage. "My father sold our land, our last hope for a better future, all for someone who never needed it." Her heart felt shattered. She had started to care for Eric, to see a future with him, but now all she saw was betrayal. Eric pleaded with her to understand, but Destiny turned her back, tears streaming down her face, and went to her room. The house was quiet that night, the air thick with pain. Roland stayed outside, lost in his grief, while Destiny cried herself to sleep. Eric, filled with regret, sat alone, unsure of how to fix the damage he had caused. Word of Eric's true identity spread through the village like wildfire. When the news reached Judah, he knew his dreams of winning Destiny's heart were over. How could he compete with a billionaire? With no other options, Judah went to visit Sophia, his pride bruised. He told her he was ready to be with her now that Destiny was out of the picture. Sophia burst into loud laughter. "You must be out of your mind," she said with disdain. "To think I would ever marry someone like you. Do you really think I don't know the truth? You've been flaunting your boss's cars and clothes, pretending to be wealthy, but you have nothing. You're a fraud, and I would never waste my time on you." Judah's face drained of color. His secret was out. Sophia had discovered he was living a lie. Humiliated, Judah walked away, his head hanging in shame. He had lost everything. The next morning, Eric gathered his courage and went to speak to Destiny. He told her he was ready to take her and her father back to the city, that he wanted to make things right. But Destiny's face remained hard. The wounds from his deception were still too fresh. "I can't go with you," she said, her voice filled with disappointment. Without another word, she turned to find her father. Together, they gathered their tools and headed to the farm. Eric stood there, watching them disappear, his heart aching. He had come searching for love but was now left with nothing but regret. At the farm, Destiny worked silently beside her father, her mind swirling. She had cared for him deeply, but the betrayal was too much. Her father, though quiet, shared her pain. Later, Sophia came to see Eric, pretending to be concerned. Her real plan was to lie and twist the truth. She told Eric that Destiny wasn't as good as she seemed, that she was flirting with other men and didn't really care about him. Then, Sophia confessed that she had admired him from the start. Eric listened quietly, then asked, "If you like me, why didn't you say something when I was pretending to be crippled? Why wait until now?" "I was waiting for the right time," Sophia replied quickly. Eric's face grew serious. "Get out," he said firmly. "I know what you're doing. You're just after my money. You're a spoiled and selfish gold digger." Sophia's face turned red with anger and shame. She stormed out, muttering curses under her breath, blaming Destiny for everything. Days passed, and Eric tried everything to convince Destiny and Roland to come with him, but the damage was done. One morning, Eric decided it was time to leave. Staying would only cause more pain. With a heavy heart, he packed his things and headed back to the city, looking back one last time at the house that had once felt like home. The love he had been searching for his whole life was here, and he had lost it. As Eric walked away, Destiny's heart shattered. Tears streamed down her face. She had fallen in love with him, and now he was gone. She questioned why she had let her anger push him away. She knew deep down that he had a good heart. Back in the city, Eric's mother ran to him the moment he arrived, hugging him tightly with tears of relief. Eric sat down and explained everything: the village, the disguise, and the love he had found and lost with Destiny and her kind father. His mother listened, her heart softening with pity for her son. "I'm so sorry, Eric," she said sadly. "Maybe it's for the best. You'll find love again, I'm sure." Just then, the front door opened, and Eric's father entered. He was a stern man, a successful politician focused on one thing: winning the upcoming election for governor. For him, everything was falling into place, except for one detail: Eric's marriage. He barely glanced at Eric before heading to his study. Eric followed, knowing he had to explain. "Father, I'm back," he said. "So you finally decided to return," his father replied without looking up. Eric explained the entire situation, but his father's face remained cold. When Eric finished, his father leaned back. "Good," he said. "I'm glad she rejected you. This nonsense of pretending to be a beggar was foolish." His father's tone sharpened. "Listen to me, Eric. You are my only son, and I have a lot riding on you. I have already arranged for you to marry Chief Timothy's daughter. This is key to me winning the governorship, and I won't let anything stand in the way. You will marry her, or I will not take it lightly." Eric's chest tightened. "But I don't love her. I don't even know her." His father slammed his fist on the desk. "This is not about love. This is about power, about our family's future. You will marry her whether you like it or not." Without another word, Eric turned and left the room, his mind in turmoil. Eric couldn't take it anymore. One evening, he told his mother he was leaving for the village. He couldn't imagine a life without Destiny. His mother, worried, tried to convince him to stay, but his heart was set. Before his father returned home that night, Eric was on his way back to the village. When he arrived at Destiny's home, she was overjoyed. She had missed him terribly. Tears welled up in her eyes as she welcomed him back. Meanwhile, in the city, Eric's father was furious when he learned his son had left. He yelled that he would send his men to drag Eric back. His wife, however, suggested a different approach. "Allow him to bring Destiny and her father here," she proposed. Once they are here, I can offer them money to leave our son alone." Her husband, believing everyone had a price, reluctantly agreed. The next day, Eric's mother called him and told him he could bring Destiny and her father to the city. Roland, who had never been to the city, was excited. When they arrived, Eric's father sat Roland down. He told him that he had bought them a house and arranged a business for him. Roland, overwhelmed, thanked him profusely. However, one afternoon, things took a dark turn. Eric's father visited Destiny alone. With a cold expression, he told her that now that they were settled, she must stay away from his son. He warned that if she didn't listen, she and her father would disappear. Shaking with fear, Destiny called Eric and told him everything. Furious, Eric confronted his father, then went straight to Chief Timothy's house. He looked the chief in the eye and said he would never marry his daughter. To make his point, he lied, saying Destiny was already pregnant with his child. The news hit the chief like a ton of bricks. Enraged at the rejection, he stormed over to Eric's father's house and told him he would never support his run for governor. His influence gone, his father's dreams were shattered. The day of the election finally arrived. Eric's father lost. The defeat filled him with rage, and he blamed Eric for it all. Blinded by anger, he made a horrible decision. He sent his men to Roland's house with orders to teach him a lesson. That night, they brutally attacked the poor man, beating him until he was unconscious. When Destiny returned from the market, she found her father motionless on the floor. Panicked, she screamed for help and rushed him to the hospital. The doctor told her that it was a miracle her father was still alive. Eric rushed to the hospital as soon as he heard. When he saw Roland, bruised and weak, his heart sank. This was the man who had welcomed him, cared for him. Seeing him like this broke something inside Eric. He knew this was his father's doing, and it filled him with guilt and sorrow. When Eric got home, he was trembling with fury. He stormed into his room, pulled a gun from his drawer, and marched to his father's study. His father looked up, startled, as Eric burst in. Eric raised the gun and pointed it straight at him. "If Destiny's father dies," Eric said, his voice cold and steady, "then you will die too." The shock on his father's face was immediate. "Eric, put the gun down," he pleaded, his voice shaking. "You've done enough," Eric continued. "Because of you, an innocent man is fighting for his life. If he doesn't make it, I swear you'll pay for it with your own." A wave of guilt washed over his father. Tears welled up in his eyes, something Eric had never seen. "Eric, I'm sorry," he said softly. "I didn't mean for things to go this far." "You've only ever cared about what's best for yourself," Eric shot back. "Well, I'm done." His father raised his hands. "Put the gun down," he said, his voice softer now. "I will fix this. I promise." Eric lowered the gun slightly. "Fixing this won't bring back the trust you've broken." He placed the gun on the table. "I'll hold you to your word. If anything happens to Destiny's father, I'll never forgive you." Eric turned and walked out, leaving his father sitting in silence, overwhelmed by guilt and regret. The next day, Eric's father arrived at the hospital, carrying the weight of his actions. He walked into Roland's room, where the air was thick with tension. He approached Roland's bed, shame burning within him. "I am sorry." Ed at the hospital, carrying the weight of his actions. He walked into Roland's room, where the air was thick with tension. He approached Roland's bed, shame burning within him. "I am sorry, Roland," he said quietly. "I let my ambition blind me. I want to make things right." After a long pause, Roland, weak but forgiving, finally spoke. "Life is short. There's no room for grudges. What matters now is that my daughter and your son are happy." Eric's father, relieved, had never met someone so kind. He promised himself he would do whatever it took to help this family. Back in the village, things were changing for Sophia. After her fallout with everyone, she felt isolated. A man appeared, seemingly out of nowhere, with expensive clothes and a shiny car, claiming to be a wealthy businessman. Sophia, eager to prove she could still win, fell for his charms. Before long they were engaged. But there was a dark secret. The man was a poor mechanic. He had been paid by a bitter Judah to trick Sophia as revenge for taking his money. Sophia, who was pregnant by the time the man came to her, had no idea. After the wedding, they moved to the city, but instead of a mansion, they arrived at a rundown shack near a noisy garage. The man revealed the truth, and Sophia was trapped. She cried for days, realizing her greed had led her to a life worse than she had ever imagined. A month after their wedding, Eric and Destiny's lives blossomed. 3 months later, Destiny discovered she was pregnant. Eric was overjoyed. His mother, now genuinely happy for her son, was equally thrilled and sent gifts often. One day, Destiny decided to drive herself to her antenatal appointment. On the way, her car broke down. She spotted a mechanic shop across the road and, as she crossed, noticed a woman sitting by the roadside eating a loaf of bread. The woman's clothes were ragged. It was Sophia. Sophia looked up and burst into tears, shocked to see Destiny looking so happy and radiant. She explained everything: the betrayal by Judah, the fake marriage, being abandoned while pregnant, and now living on the streets. Destiny listened with a mixture of pity and sadness. Before leaving, she wrote a generous check and handed it to Sophia. "Use this to start a business," Destiny said softly. "I hope it helps you get back on your feet." Overwhelmed with gratitude, Sophia thanked her over and over. Later that evening, Destiny told Eric what had happened. "It's good you helped her," Eric said. "It's never right to look down on others. Life can change in unexpected ways." Destiny nodded, knowing her kindness had made a difference. In the end, this story teaches us that true love and kindness come from the heart, not from wealth or status. Money cannot buy genuine love, and it is important to value people for who they are, not for what they have. Eric discovered that his real happiness came from embracing love and compassion, while Destiny's kindness showed that caring for others is what truly matters. Dear viewers, what lessons did you take away from this dramatic tale? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed the story, give us a thumbs up, share it with friends, and hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss out on our latest updates. Thanks for watching, and stay blessed.